Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, my name is Anna. I am a portrait photographer in the Chicagoland area, and today we're going to be doing 2 photographers, 1 photo challenge. I've recently been meeting up with a lot of other Chicago photographers, and I actually met up with Nader. If you're interested in his work, I will link all of his Instagram and social media in the description box below. When we actually started talking and deciding what to do, I didn't necessarily have an idea, nor did he, so we kind of came up with an idea of photographing each other, and if there was a specific photo that both of us liked, we were going to edit them and sort of see the similarities and the differences in our editing styles. I actually did something a little bit similar with Dennis and Mona, so if you're interested in these photography challenges, I will link them in the playlist up here as well as in the description box. During the time that we recorded this, it was actually peak foliage in the area, and I found this awesome forest preserve that I've never actually been to before. It had a lot of great big trees with a lot of leaves still on them rather than being on the ground, so this was a great chance for us to sort of see what we can do with this setup. Once we had finished all of the photos, it was time to open up Lightroom and begin editing. And first I'll show Nader's editing style and how he did it, and then I will show mine after that.
This is Nader. I wanted to go ahead and show you my edit on this photo of Anna in the woods. So I want to bring the exposure up. Kind of helps us to see some of the detail that we're working with here. I like to bring the contrast up, helps it get a little more moody. Her face is really light right now, so let's bring the highlights down and the shadows up a little bit to give us just a little more visibility on the detail in there. I want to bring the whites down just a little bit to remove that highlight a little bit so we can see her face. I want to bring the blacks down a little. Let's bring that up a little bit. Down a little bit just to kind of make it a little more moody, a little touch of texture, a little touch of clarity, just to make some of those details in the leaves and in the bark pop, and her sweater. Vibrance, let's bring the vibrance up ever so slightly. And that, I'm really starting to like how this looks. It was early on in the fall when we shot this, so I would like to make some of those bring some of those greens a little more muted, I guess more towards the yellow. And that's starting to feel good there. Making some of the oranges pop, but trying not to make it feel too unnatural. Let's see, exposure, I brought it up at the beginning, so let's bring it down just a touch to make it feel a little more moody. Warm it up ever so slightly with the yellow. Let's take a peek back at the HSL. Like that, that's pretty good. You don't want to make it too unnatural by trying to remove the greens, but we can desaturate them a little bit. We could bump our yellows and orange to give those some more feeling. Let's bring down the luminance on the green. And punch the yellows and oranges a little bit. So I'm feeling really good about this. So let's zoom in. Control plus to zoom in. And I just want to do a light blemish correction. So we select that. And we just hit some items just to sort of smooth out some of the details. We don't want to slide the detail slider too far in the wrong direction, for example, so this is just to lighten some of the blemishes. I'm going to come in a little closer. Alright, I'm feeling really good about this, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom on out, minus, click on this side to go ahead and export it.
This is going to be the photo that we're editing today, and I actually cropped this a little bit smaller than the original photo. So the original photo looks like this, and you can obviously see that the right side of my face is very highlighted and it's very bright. So I'm going to show you guys just a couple things that I did to get this result. In the light panel right underneath the edit, you're going to see that I brought down the exposure. Obviously, since it was really bright, I wanted to make sure to bring it down and make it very contrasty. And with that said, I boosted up the contrast and brought down the highlights to make sure that you could still see my face. I did bring up the shadows only because if I don't do that, it gets very dark, and I still wanted to be able to bring up just a little bit just so I can see more definition in the face and in my pants. The important thing that I want to mention when you go into the color down here is that normally the things that I do is increase the temperature to either a warmer tone or a cooler tone and also bring up the vibrance. But this time I decided to go into color grading since this is a photo challenge that I am doing. I went into color grading right here, and you can see that I selected different spots, and obviously you can change where the colors are for the shadows, for the midtones, and for the highlights. You can also do color grading globally, but I did not want to do that only because there's a lot of shadows going on and there's a lot of highlights that are happening, so it's gonna turn out not as much as I would like it to be if I just did it all globally. So if we go back to the shadows, you can see it's going into more of a orange tone, and obviously the more that you bring it to the end, the more intense it's going to be. So I scale it down just a little bit, and obviously you can fidget with the luminance and see where you kind of want to bring it. You can also adjust the blending and the balance, but I pretty much did in the shadows and orange. In the midtones, I brought it to a blue because obviously blue, as you can see in the color wheel, is opposite of orange. And then in the highlights, I also brought it back to a blue because that is opposite of orange. The rest of the things that I did in this edit was just go over a couple blemishes. I removed them, and when you go into the selective edits, I went ahead and selected my eye, the one that's on the highlighted portion, just to enhance it, as well as go all over my skin and smooth it out. I also noticed that I was a little bit darker, as in the subject was a little bit darker in the photo than I would have liked, so I went ahead and drew right over myself and just increased the exposure, and that's the end of this edit. A couple tips that I have for you if you're ever in this type of situation is to always ask the photographer for permission first before you decide to edit their photos. The reason that I'm saying that is because I've dealt with a couple issues in the past where I would post my work on my Instagram and another photographer would take that photo, download it, and decide to edit it themselves and then send it to me and see how they would edit their photos. And I personally don't like this, and I feel like it's a little disrespectful for that photographer. Just to play it safe and make sure that you aren't stepping on anyone's toes or having any bad blood between other photographers in your community is to just always ask for permission first. Another tip that I have for you is to not be afraid of stepping in front of the camera. If you're interested in more information or tips and tricks onto why you should be stepping in front of the camera, I will list the video up here and you can go ahead and check it out. One of the things that I talk about in that YouTube video is to really get a perspective of the model because they can't see what you're seeing through the viewfinder. So if you get yourself into their shoes and you start modeling and you start seeing what you like and what you don't like, it's much easier for you to give tips to the model in the future when you're using it for other shoots. The last tip that I have for you is to just have fun with it because you have to realize that this other person is also developing their skills and developing their experiences in photographing as well as editing. So you don't have to feel discouraged, especially if the other person you might feel has more experience than you or more skills. You guys are both learning off of each other, and this builds really good relationships between other photographers and even in the community. And that's the end of this video. I really want to thank Nader for helping me out and being even my subject for that day. If you're interested in a couple of those photos, I will post them up here for you to check out. And if you're interested in Nader's work, I will list it in the description box below. If you are interested in similar videos just like this, I have a playlist created where I normally show all of my other Lightroom edits, so I will list that up here as well as in the description box below. If you are interested in my travel videos where you can travel the world with me and see what I do in my free time, I will also list that in the description box below. But that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys are staying safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.